Ruth, do you really think that not wanting an autistic or disabled child is eugenics?
You're right, we do need to have some added nuance from our last conversation. So first and foremost, no one has any right to tell any individual that they can or cannot have a child for any reason.
This seems like there's various human rights issues intersecting here, like sometimes even contrasting and muddying the waters of morality.
Absolutely. And what I was attempting to address in our last conversation and didn't offer enough nuance on is the systemic thinking and pervasive ideas surrounding ableist rejection of having a disabled child, thinking it some kind of tragedy or loss or the drain on society or an undesirable life due to the child's inevitable struggles.
So, on the one hand, an individual absolutely should have the inalienable right to end a pregnancy.
Period. Full stop. If a eugenicist ends their pregnancy for eugenic reasons, eugenics is still morally wrong, and this is where we have to have the capacity to understand moral complexity far beyond rigid two-dimensional thinking, because they still have the bodily autonomy, that right to end the pregnancy, even for immoral reasons.
That's a lot to have to wrap your mind around, but I don't want my kids to struggle.
To live is to struggle. If you are going to have a child, you must be prepared to have an autistic child and to love them and care for them just as much as you would a non-autistic child. And that goes for any disability, because disability can manifest at any time.
What if you're disabled yourself and worried you can't care for a child with higher supports needs?
It's a valid concern, especially in this hellscape we call capitalist society, and doubly so with the American healthcare system.
So there's yet another layer of complexity to the issue.
But hear the difference in the argument. One is that if I had the resources to have a disabled child, I would. The other is I don't want my life to be negatively affected by having to care for an autistic or otherwise disabled child, or disabled people are a drain on society. Or disabled people's lives are miserable, so it's better they don't exist.
That's a stark distinction.
And again, this is a very complex subject with overlapping and contrasting moral questions.
So what about other disabilities beyond autism? Like, Down syndrome. I heard Japanese scientists just successfully removed the extra chromosome from cells using CRISPR. I think that's how you say it.
It raises serious moral questions that we should be talking about now before it's used on living tissue. And if there is a unified moral framing for Down syndrome, does that same moral framing apply universally to all disabilities, from cerebral palsy to sickle cell, epilepsy, deafness, heart conditions? They all have their own unique considerations. But I don't think the removal of these identities makes the world a better place. But again, there's a lot of complexity here.
So what do you think, like, overall?
I don't have all the answers, but I do want to warn against harmful, ableist, and eugenic thinking that is so ubiquitous in our society that many people find themselves parroting beliefs that have led to the gravest of atrocities in our history. To argue that it's okay to not have disabled kids because disabled people are going to face too big of struggles is not disability advocacy. We need to have more nuanced conversations than that.